Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another review. This time, I saw Mission Impossible 2. This is, excuse me, this is a spy thriller film from 2000, directed by John Woo, and it stars Tom Cruise, Dougray Scott, Thandie Newton, Ving Rhames, Richard Roxburgh, and Brendan Gleeson. In the film, with computer genius Luther Stickle at his side and a beautiful thief on his mind, Agent Ethan Hunt races across Australia and Spain to stop a former IMF agent from unleashing a genetically engineered biological weapon called Chimera. This mission, should Hunt choose to accept it, plunges him into the center of an international crisis of terrifying magnitude. So, what did I think of Mission Impossible 2? Well, I didn't hate it. A lot of people seem to really hate this movie. They think it's the worst in the series. I haven't seen all of them, so I don't know if it's my worst in the series. I will say it's not as good as the first movie, but it could have been a lot better. And there's clearly something here that could have been a lot of fun, but there are some issues getting in the way. I still found it decent though. Even with a lot of its issues, very obvious issues, I did enjoy it to an extent. But let me get to the cast. Or actually, let me grab a jacket. I'm cold. That's the thing about living in a place like North Carolina. It's either super cold or super hot. Better. So, the cast. Tom Cruise plays Ethan Hunt. He is an IMF agent. He's the main character of the first film. He is one of my issues with this film. His performance in the first film was pretty alright. Or pretty good, actually. He didn't seem like a dick or a douche. In this one, he 100% comes off as a douche. His performance is very, like... It feels like it's tongue-in-cheek, even though the movie takes itself pretty serious. And it got really annoying. He was... just came off very douchey. Dougray Scott plays Sean Ambrose. He's a rogue IMF agent that's got this cure for this disease or whatever. I like Dougray Scott. I've liked him in movies like Hitman. I liked him in what else did I see him in? The Resort. He was good there. He was good in Tiger House, even though that movie's kind of meh. Last Passenger. I do think he's a good actor. I think his acting here is good, but the character is kind of blah. Doesn't have much interesting about him. Thandie Newton plays Naya Nordoff Hall. She's a master thief that ends up helping Ethan. I liked her. I've always liked Thandie Newton, but I think she's a bit underused in this for sure. Ving Rhames plays Luther Stickle. He is the hacker guy from the first film. Ving Rhames is always good. Apparently he's in every film in the series, which is sick because I love Ving Rhames so much. Richard Roxburgh plays Hugh Stamp. He's the right-hand man to Sean Ambrose. I think he's all right, but it the way he plays the character almost doesn't exactly fit with the film. It's very over the top and very pantomime. And Brendan Gleeson as John C. McCloy. He's the owner of this pharmaceutical company. He's fine. He's barely in the film. But Mission Impossible 2, again, I have most of the Mission Impossible films thanks to this Blu-ray set that also has the special features, which I'll have to look at those at some point. This film. There's there are so many stories about why this film is the way it is. Tom Cruise was apparently a massive dickhead on set. And apparently John Woo did not have a lot of fun directing this, which sucks because John Woo directed my favorite action movie of all time, Hard Boiled. And I love him as a director. Now, that's not to say that every movie he's done has been amazing. Of the John Woo movies that I've seen, I liked Silent Night was a good movie. Hard Target is awesome. Broken Arrow is underrated, and I like it. Paycheck is a really underrated film, I think. The Killer I liked, but I wasn't huge on. Um, but yeah, I've mostly seen his American films. I need to watch more of his films from Hong Kong. But John Woo, I think, definitely has a distinct style, and from what I've heard, this film was massively re-edited by Tom Cruise and other people. Apparently, John Woo was locked out of the editing room, very similarly to how Hard Target was edited, which that sucks because it's his movie. I know Tom Cruise produced it, but or co-produced it, but yeah, it still sucks that happened. But given the movie as it is here, I didn't mind it. I think this is definitely an enjoyable film. There are so many spy movies, action movies that are better than this for sure. But for what is supposed to be, by many people have labeled this as like an unwatchable, like shit fest, like there's nothing good about it. I'm sorry. Those same people said that Silent Night had nothing good about it. Even though Silent Night doesn't have most of John Woo's best action scenes or anything, I still think it's a good enough movie. For what it's going for, it works. But here, I do want to get through some of my issues with it. The first one being pacing. This is an action thriller film, action spy thriller film, where the first action scene, and I'm not counting like spy stuff like him diving into the headquarters or whatever. The first action scene, like first shootout or anything like that, is an hour and 15 minutes into a 2-hour movie. So I do think that that's a bit of an issue. There should have been more action if they're gonna go, because John Woo. Why do you get John Woo? You don't get him for like a thriller stuff. You don't get him for stuff like that. Most of what he's done is war epics and action movies where a bunch of people get shot and everything around them is fucking going up, and like papers are flying, plates are smashing, water's flying everywhere, birds, doves everywhere. And you do get some of that. And I will comment on that. But maybe John Woo was the wrong director for this. Um but yeah, like the pacing is definitely an issue here. I don't think the pacing falters as much as the first films does at many points, where there's certain excuse me, where there's certain like thriller like scenes of tension that go on for way too long. I don't think that ever happened in this film. For the most part, it keeps the pace going during the thriller set pieces. Tom Cruise, again, I think Tom Cruise was really into himself at this point. He's very cocky and in a very annoying way. He just seems, it almost seems like he's not taking this serious, which is weird cuz I think that given this is like his baby, like the first Mission Impossible came about because he was like, I love the Mission Impossible show and I want to make movies. So you'd think that he'd like be taking it seriously, but for a lot of this movie, it's very like his acting is almost parodic, and some of the lines are almost parodic in nature. Like there's literally a bit where she's like trying to the female thief is trying to steal like a necklace, and he like sneaks up behind her, and then they're like hiding in the bathtub on top of each other, and I'm like, oh great. And then she's like, do you mind if I'm on top? And it's just like very obviously written to make Tom Cruise like this, like, oh, he's the hottest guy ever, he's so good at his job and all that. And it felt very vanity. Like it felt like a vanity project thing, even though the first one was his baby as well. or his vanity project in a way, where he was like, I want to do the Mission Impossible show as a movie. This one felt like really up your own ass. I also, again, Dougray Scott, he does a good job in the film. His villain character is so like bland. Like Sean Ambrose, I can't think of anything interesting about him. At least in the first film, the villain, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but at least in the first film, the villain kind of made sense, or they were like interesting, their relations to the main character and all that. And but here, like, there's like implied like history, but you don't get much more than that. You don't really get much of a backstory on the villain for why he is the way he is, and that is disappointing because I think it's a waste of Dougray Scott as an actor. Tandy Newton's character is so misused in this. And I don't say this for every female that's in an action movie, because there are action movies where it's very clear that the female character is supposed to be saved, and I have no real issue with that. There are plenty of movies that people say are like that, which aren't. Like Commando, I constantly hear Radon Chong is only there to be saved, when literally there's a part where Arnold's being taken to jail, and she uses like a rocket launcher to stop the truck and like saves him. So I don't want to hear that because it's not true. But here, Thandie Newton's character, it's like you get these like teasing bits at the beginning where she's trying to steal the necklace at the beginning to like show how good of a thief she is. But then she almost never uses those same like tactics throughout the entire movie. And I'm guessing if there were deleted scenes, I did not see the deleted scenes. I should have looked at that. If there are deleted scenes showing that she was originally had like more screen time, then that would make sense, because with all that setup, you'd expect her to become like more of a main part of it, kind of like Luther is, where she's very much a big part of the plot going forward and like getting into the villain's lair and all this shit. But she really just doesn't. Um, uh, I will say that also the tonal inconsistencies that happen sometimes. The opening scene of the film is literally a plane full of like people, like innocent people just crashing into a mountain and exploding. And then the very next scene is basically Tom Cruise wiggling his cock in the camera where he's climbing a mountain, which I'll get to that. But it it's such a weird thing to go from like, ooh, look how fucked up the villains are. Look what they just did to these people. And then you have him like showing off. It's just a bit annoying. But as for things I liked about the movie, the action scenes are very well done. There's the um there's the scene in the layer, the first action scene that really comes up, the first shootout in the kind of like a lab where the virus is being held, was a lot of fun. The editing didn't like hide anything. It worked. There were sparks flying everywhere, explosions and all that. John Woo's signature style. I will also say, Brian De Palma directing the last movie, I saw barely any of his style within the movie. Like his type of editing, his type of direction, his camera movements. I barely got any of that from that movie. From this, I can still tell this is a John Woo movie, or at least a movie trying to do what John Woo does, because I can see his directorial flourishes, even with the like botched edit of this movie, apparently, allegedly. But yeah, the action scenes are not badly done at all. The suspense the thrilling suspense scenes actually work very well. There's kind of an homage to the first film's wire sequence, and it doesn't last as long. I'm glad for that because I have always had that issue. I was like, the wire sequence in the first film, I know it was kind of a new thing, but it does go on a bit too long. It's like over 7 minutes long or something. But the score by Hans Zimmer is a lot of fun. This kind of like rock score for like, ooh, cool, like Mission Impossible mission type thing. That was really nice. Um, the I really liked the version of the Mission Impossible theme that played. Um, the kind of like rocky one, I liked it. And just overall, even though it does lag in places, I do think the plot is interesting. It definitely holds up to nowadays, given that it's kind of more relevant now, given that it's about a virus and all. But overall, like, would I watch this movie again if I wasn't doing like a Mission Impossible like watch through? Probably not. But I do think it is very close to being an 8. It is very close to being a good movie. I like again, I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's decent enough. But there are still issues with it that I can understand people not being into it. But yeah, that was my review of Mission Impossible 2. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Oh, fuck. Oh my god, I almost forgot. Tom Cruise's stunts. That is one thing I can really give Tom Cruise in this film. He does some really impressive stunts. The rock climbing thing looks awesome, even though it's obviously like a, ooh, look at me. But, very impressive. Definitely adds a lot to the movie. Because there are movies nowadays that he would probably do, or somebody like him would probably do, where they're on a green screen and it's supposed to be impressive. At least here it's something actually impressive. It's him actually risking his life for his art, which I can give respect for. But yeah, if you that was my review of Mission Impossible 2. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And movie reviewer next door, out.